I watched the schedule change and no one asked what it left uncovered. My hand stayed steady, but the system gave me a gap it never meant to admit. I crossed the fence in minutes that belonged to no one, carrying weight meant for steel and pipes. When the charge was set, I understood how easily duty can be measured on paper, and how quietly it can fail in the dark. 27 February 1943, occupied Norway. Telemark County, above the town of Rjukan. Winter holds the Hardangervidda Plateau in ice and wind. Germany controls the valley roads. German officers oversee the hydroelectric complex. At Vemork, Norsk Hydro's factory produces heavy water, deuterium oxide, a material used in certain types of nuclear reactor research. The output is not large, but it is one of the few steady sources in Europe. By 1942, German authorities treat it as strategic. The plant's normal purpose is industrial. Ammonia production, fertilizer work, electrical power turned into chemical output. Occupation changes the emphasis. Work continues. Extra inspections appear. Production numbers are reported upward. A factory becomes a guarded site. British planners and Norwegian exile authorities have tried to disrupt it. In November 1942, a direct assault is attempted. 2 gliders and a towing aircraft are lost in bad weather. Survivors are captured. The occupation authorities impose harsh reprisals. The failure becomes a warning to everyone who watches the plant. After that, security expands fast. New wire is added. Locks are changed. Searchlights are moved. Sentries are placed where none stood before. The effort is visible in paperwork as well. A local guard detachment receives a revised roster. The guard schedule is rewritten to cover more hours with the same men. On paper, it looks stronger. A table of names and times, a promise of constant coverage. In practice, it introduces something else, a pattern, a short gap where responsibility passes from one patrol to another, a few minutes with no one looking in the same direction. That gap is not planned. It is created by ordinary constraints. Cold slows walking pace. Meals and warming breaks still exist. Men step into a guard hut to stamp their boots. A relief arrives late because a lorry blocks a road. A corporal assumes a sentry is already posted. A sentry assumes the corporal has checked. No one questions the schedule itself. Not because no one cares, because the schedule is treated as authority. If it is typed and stamped, it must be correct. Gaps like that are not marked on any map. They are found through routine, through observation, through the quiet arithmetic of time. Casper Edlund is 23. Before the war, he is a sailor from Stavanger. Sea work teaches him to travel light. It teaches him to count time by more than a clock. It teaches him how quickly small mistakes become emergencies. In Britain, Edlund is trained for missions that must succeed without noise, explosives, timed fuses, wire cutting, night movement on skis, the discipline to take only what can be carried away. By February 1943, he's back in his own country. Not by ship, not by road, by parachute. A Halifax bomber crosses the North Sea in darkness. It climbs toward the mountains. It drops 6 men into wind and snow. Their code name is Gunnerside. They hit hard ground. Parachutes are gathered and buried. Silk is hidden under drifted snow. Harness parts are scattered and covered. The skies watched for any sign of aircraft circling back. Frostbite is checked early. Hands are flexed. Bootlaces are retied. Each man looks for signs of injury in the others. A twisted knee ends the mission. A swollen hand can ruin the handling of detonators. For weeks, another team has been waiting on the plateau. They are Norwegians too. Their job is not sabotage. Their job is to watch and survive. To keep a link with London alive. To keep a route open for a strike team. That waiting team is called Grouse, led by Jens Anton Poulsen. A small radio has been their lifeline. Batteries are rationed. Transmissions are short. Every signal risks direction finding. From a distance they have studied Vemork. Truck headlights on the road, the glow of windows, the sweep of searchlights, the moments when the perimeter looks still. They cannot get close without leaving tracks. They cannot linger without being seen. Even so, timing can be taken. A patrol circuit can be measured with patience. In the weeks after the 1942 failure, they noticed change. More movement on the fence line, a new regularity at the rear, a patrol that appears, disappears, then returns with the same spacing. Regularity is the enemy of surprise. It is also, under the right conditions, an opening. The two teams meet at a cabin that is half buried in snow. No fire is kept long. Smoke in the cold air carries far. Equipment is laid out on a blanket, plastic explosive, detonators sealed against moisture, fuse cord cut to length, wire cutters and small tools, maps already outdated at the edges, a compass that must be trusted more than any landmark in a whiteout. Food is sparse. Hard bread, dried meat, coffee if any remains. Snow is melted for water. Then the talk returns to time. The bridge across the gorge, the steep cliff path, the cable tunnel used for pipes and maintenance, the rear of the plant where river noise covers small sounds, the main gate under watch from a post, the guard hut where men warm their hands, the patrol that circles the fence line. The revised guard schedule is discussed in detail. After the glider disaster, the commander wants visible control, more rounds, more posted sentries, fewer idle minutes, but the detachment is not infinitely large. More duty hours mean shorter rest. Shorter rest means tired men. Tired men seek warmth and routine. Routines become predictable. The roster also assumes perfect handovers. A patrol ends at a precise time, another begins at the same precise time. Reality does not obey a timetable. Grouse has timed the rear sector. Around a certain minute past the hour, the patrol is elsewhere. The relief does not arrive early. The post is empty, only for a few minutes, but those minutes are consistent. No one questioned the new schedule. Everyone assumed it had been checked. A plan forms that does not depend on heroics. It depends on that interval, on the moment between footsteps. In Ryukyu Valley below, people live under occupation rules. Ration cards, curfew, German trucks on the road, work permits, letters opened, rumours punished. At Vemork, Norwegian workers operate the plant. Some resent the occupation, some keep their heads down. Some cooperate to protect families, most try to survive. The saboteurs will not ask a worker to open a door. They will not hand someone a key that could later be discovered. They will go in from outside. Approach is the first problem. The plant is high and fenced. The bridge is watched. The front road is watched. But the gorge below is steep. It looks like a barrier. It is also a blind side. The decision is made to descend into it. In daylight, it would be impossible. At night, in snow, it remains dangerous. A slip means broken bones. Broken bones mean capture. Weather becomes part of the plan. Cloud cover to hide movement, wind to blur sound, snow to soften tracks, but not so much snow that the climb becomes impossible. On 27 February, conditions settle into a hard, cold calm. Visibility is poor, the moon is behind cloud. Sound carries unpredictably in the valley. Watches are checked again. Fuses are confirmed. Each man repeats his tasks to himself. Who cuts wire? Who carries which charge? Who leads in the tunnel? Who covers the rear? What to do if a sentry appears? Island carries part of the explosive load. He keeps it close to his body for warmth. Cold can slow chemical reactions in some devices. Cold can make small tools slip. Cold can turn a careful step into a fall. The team moves out in single file. Skis whisper on hard snow. Open ridges are avoided, silhouettes are avoided, stops are frequent. Listening matters as much as movement. At the edge of the gorge, the cliff drops into darkness. The river cannot be seen. Its sound rises through the cold air. Constant. Loud enough to cover a small metallic click. Not loud enough to cover shouting. The descent is slow. Hands find rock under snow. Boots find holds. Spacing is maintained. No one hurries. Haste is what makes noise. In the gorge, air feels sharper. The walls cut wind. The river grows louder. Above, the plant is a dark mass against white slopes. They traverse under the cliff, keeping to shadow, moving toward a known point, a maintenance route used in summer, a way that no guard expects men to climb in February. This is where local knowledge matters, not the kind filed in headquarters, the kind learned by living in the land. The climb begins. Skis are left below, hidden. Bodies are pulled upward through scrub and rock. Snow spills in small cascades with each movement. When a stone shifts, movement stops. Silence is allowed to return. Above, wire waits. Posts wait. A patrol exists somewhere in the dark. They reach the rear perimeter, not the main entrance, not the road, a less used sector, a place where the new schedule matters most. The revised roster keeps the front gate covered. It also requires a fence patrol on a set circuit. When that patrol is late, the fence is unobserved. When that patrol is early, it leaves too soon. This is the seam. Idland waits with the cutters. He keeps his eyes low. A man who stares into a post looks suspicious. A man who moves as if he belongs is harder to notice. A minute passes, then another. No footsteps, no flashlight beam. The gap has opened. Metal yields. The sound is small. The river takes it. A section is bent and eased open. Wide enough for one man. Bodies pass through one at a time. Clothing is kept from catching. No loose wire is left shining. Inside the perimeter, movement continues at a walking pace. Running suggests panic. Panic suggests intruders. Calm suggests workers. The cable tunnel entrance is reached. A small structure used for pipes and cables. It is not designed as a fortress. It is designed to keep out weather. A door is locked. Locks are obstacles, not walls. A small tool turns. A latch gives. No kick, no splinter, no damage visible from a distance. Inside there is damp concrete and metal. The river sound becomes muted. Breathing seems louder. A narrow passage runs forward. Cables along a wall. Water on the floor in places. Boots step carefully. At a junction, another barrier appears. A second door, also locked. Time is now the main enemy. Every minute inside increases the chance the gap closes. Every minute increases the chance a patrol returns. The lock yields with quiet work. The door opens. Beyond is the heavy water cell room. The target. Diagrams have been studied for months. The men know what must be damaged. Electrolytic cells and associated lines. Not everything. Only what stops output and forces replacement. No documents are taken. No souvenirs collected. Nothing is touched that does not serve the task. Edelin places his charges. Tape and wire secure them. He checks placement twice. Fuse routes are kept clear of damp surfaces. Detonators are seated with care. Hands are numb even indoors. He flexes fingers between steps. He forces himself to slow down for the critical actions. A detonator placed wrong is failure. A fuse cut wrong is a death sentence. Words are minimal. A whisper of confirmation. A hand signal. A nod. In that room, language is secondary to discipline. A final listening pause. No voices. No footsteps. Only the low hum of a building that never fully sleeps. Fuses are lit. Timed for a short delay. Long enough to get out. Short enough that discovery is unlikely. The withdrawal is immediate. Back through the same doors. Doors ease toward closed. Not perfect, but not left wide open. Outside, cold air hits again. The fence gap still exists. The patrol has not yet returned to close it with presence. Idland slips through last. Wire is bent back into place. Not a full repair, but a shape that will not catch the eye in darkness. The team moves toward the gorge, down the way they came. No lights, no shouted orders, only the river. Then a dull thud behind them. Not a roar, not a show, a heavy contained shock. Machinery jolts, pipes rupture. A building shudders. Glass breaks somewhere. Inside the plant, alarms begin. Men run. Keys are searched for. Orders are shouted. A guard is sent to a post. Another is sent to the rear fence. Outside, the saboteurs are already descending. No one looks back. Looking back wastes time. In the gorge, skis are recovered. The climb up to the plateau begins before dawn. Tracks are minimized. Routes are chosen to avoid predictable valleys. The escape plan is as deliberate as the entry. Group size is reduced. Men separate to lower the risk that one capture ends everything. Rendezvous points are set only if needed. Otherwise, each man is responsible for reaching safety. German security responds quickly. Roadblocks appear on the valley routes. Search parties move into the hills. Dogs are brought in. Workers are questioned at the plant. Nearby farms are checked. The heavy water line is down. Engineers assess damage. Replacement parts are needed. Some must be brought from outside Norway. The local commander demands an explanation. How did men enter? Which guard failed? Who helped them? At first, suspicion falls on workers. It is the simplest answer. It is also the most dangerous for the community. Interrogations begin. Some workers are threatened. Some are struck. Some are held for hours. Most know nothing. The saboteurs had kept it that way by design. Then the schedule is reviewed. Paperwork multiplies. A written reprimand is drafted. A junior officer is blamed for lax supervision. The commander demands signatures on every handover. Guards begin logging rounds more carefully, sometimes writing times they did not truly keep. More light is ordered, even when bulbs freeze and fail. Extra wire goes up, but wire alone cannot guarantee attention. The investigation turns in circles because the failure is not a single act. It is the space between acts. On paper, it still looks disciplined. Rounds logged, posts assigned, times marked. Only slowly does the simplest truth appear. The schedule created a moment no one owned. An overlap that had been cut to save manpower. A patrol circuit that left the rear empty for minutes. A handover based on assumption. No sentry had openly disobeyed. No officer had refused an order. A gap existed between orders. That gap is small. It is also enough. On the plateau, Eidolon moves with the same restraint as during the attack. Food remains scarce. Snow is melted. Feet are checked. Drying socks becomes a constant task. He and the others rely on local aid where it is safe. A cabin door left unlatched. A loaf of bread with no questions. A warning that a patrol is nearby. Help that never asks for names. Every contact is a risk. Occupation authorities watch for patterns. They watch who travels. They watch who suddenly has extra supplies. The resistance network works by limiting what each person knows. A helper may only know that someone needed shelter, not who, not why. That separation protects the community. Days pass, weather shifts. Some nights are clear and dangerous. Some nights bring storms that cover movement but punish the body. At the border, neutral Sweden means safety of a kind. It also means forms and interviews, internment rules, long waits in buildings that feel warm but uncertain. From Sweden, London receives confirmation. The heavy water output has been halted. The plant will attempt repair. It will take time. In Berlin, planners weigh options. Continue production at Vemork under heavier guard, or move the operation. Moving is risky. Not moving is also risky. The German nuclear effort is not a single program with one timetable. It is a set of projects competing for resources and attention. Heavy water is one approach among several. The sabotage does not end the research. It adds friction. It adds delay. It forces resources into protection and rebuilding. At Vemork, repairs begin. Norwegian workers are ordered to help. Some comply under pressure. Some comply because refusal would mean prison. Some comply while quietly remembering that the plant can be reached. The memory of the gap remains. A schedule can be rewritten. A roster can be retyped. But routines still form. Humans still seek warmth. Humans still trust that someone else is watching. Late in 1943, another decision is taken. Heavy water stocks will be moved out of Norway, transported by rail and ferry across Lake Tinn, then onward. The plan depends on ordinary schedules again, cargo lists, rail timetables, ferry departure times, guard assignments posted on a wall. Norwegian resistance learns of the shipment. This time the mission is sabotage of transport. The objective is to destroy the cargo before it reaches Germany. Knut Haukelid, one of the gunnerside men, becomes central to that later effort. Others contribute as well. It is another operation built on access and timing. A charge is placed in the ferry hydro, a timed device, set to explode after the vessel is underway. On 20th of February 1944, hydro leaves the dock in winter conditions. It carries passengers, it carries cargo, it carries drums of heavy water. The charge detonates. The ferry sinks in cold water. Lives are lost. Not all of them intended targets. For the men involved, the moral weight is real. Even in a war, outcomes are not clean. A decision to deny an enemy can still harm those nearby. German authorities respond with more controls. Inspections increase. Pressure on the region intensifies. The resistance continues anyway. Eidolon is not at the centre of that later action. By then, he is used in other roles, training, planning, further missions that require the same careful hands. When Norway is liberated in May 1945, public attention favours large events, liberation parades, returning government, trials of collaborators, rebuilding in towns and ports. The details of night sabotage are quieter. They remain in reports. They are told among veterans. They are repeated in family kitchens. Many resistance fighters return to ordinary work. Some do so quickly. Some do so because there is no alternative. A country needs carpenters and sailors more than it needs saboteurs. Edelin returns to civilian life carrying skills with no peaceful use. He carries memories he does not display. In interviews years later, men like him often emphasize preparation over drama. They speak of luck. They speak of weather. They speak of the thin line between success and disaster. The sabotage at Vemork becomes a symbol. Symbols simplify. They can erase the mechanics behind them. A symbol rarely shows the hours of waiting in snow. It can hide the refusal to involve plant workers. It can also hide the effort to avoid killing when possible. Often it leaves out the patience required to measure a patrol circuit by eye. The operation succeeded because of planning and discipline. It also succeeded because a system trusted its own paperwork. The guard schedule looked complete. So no one questioned whether the rear sector truly belonged to anyone at every minute. A guard schedule is a human document. It assumes men arrive exactly when ordered. It assumes relief is on time. It assumes cold does not slow boots. It assumes sound is not masked by a river. It assumes a patrol circuit covers what the map suggests. At Vemork, those assumptions created a gap. It stayed open just long enough for charges to be planted. That night did not end the occupation. German research efforts did not vanish because of one raid. Norway was not spared further hardship. It did stop a specific production line for a time. It forced the occupiers to divert resources to security and repair. It demonstrated that reinforced systems still have seams. The quiet legacy belongs to many. The men who cut wire, the men who carried charges, the watchers who counted minutes from a distance, the locals who offered bread without questions, the workers who endured interrogation and stayed silent. In the end, the story is not only about explosives, it is about administration, about routine, about the moment between one confirmation and the next. If you want more calm, factual stories about overlooked wartime work and the people behind it, subscribe and stay with the channel.